I get it.
Mbijan raganyadi.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
Sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi topoto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi ma ni domorol ni fana beteata. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
baraka ni ma lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
For the first time in the history of the Gambia, Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation proudly introduces the Biliomatic exercise book printing machine. The machine has the capacity to print more than 20,000 books per hour. Yes, 20,000 books per hour. It also prints magazines, newspapers, calendars, flyers, normal books and all kinds of printed documents plus items at affordable prices. With the Biliomatic printing machine, GPPC can now render high quality and non-size restricted printing service supply across the sub-region. Rush now and partner with GPPC for all your public and private printing service needs. Print with us today and you'd be offered highly professional, reliable and efficient service delivery by our team of experts. The Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation is here to meet all demands and is reliable at all times. For more info, contact us on 437-4493 or 437-4402. GPPC is Gambian and it's yours.
Gambia Social Registry Household Data Collection Exercise. The government of the Gambia, with support from World Bank, is developing a social registry as part of its move towards an integrated social protection system in the country. Gambia Social Registry will serve as a single entry point for the various social protection programs in the Gambia and will be hosted by the National Social Protection Secretariat at the Office of the Vice President. The social registry shall comprise households' demographic and socio-economic data. This information will guide future social protection program interventions in the Gambia and facilitate rapid identification of beneficiaries for programs. It will have the capability to be linked to other databases when these databases become automated. The enumeration teams from Gambia Bureau of Statistics, GBOS, will visit, interview and register every household in your community, so don't be left out. However, inclusion in the registry does not automatically qualify one for a particular social program. Social Registry has taken consideration of the key principles for personal data protection. Therefore, your data shall be confidential and protected. In view of this, we call on all and sundry to register their households with enumerators from GBOS. This message is brought to you by the Department of Information Services under the Ministry of Information.
Kerr Fatou Live. I am Lavin Chan. This is our weekly look at current affairs that has been making, of course, the news over the last 7 days. This week, I have in the studio Nfamara Jawneh. He is the executive director of NGO Beakangang, and of course, my regular commentator and panelist is here, Sait Matty, a human rights activist, researcher, lecturer of the University of the Gambia, all wrapped up in one, and many more that I didn't even talk about. Welcome, Mr. Jawneh and Mr. Jaw.
Thank you, Lamin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good, and we also are expecting a veteran journalist, Demba Ali Jao, later perhaps on the program. That is, if he can, make his way out of traffic to be here. Gentlemen, welcome once again. Well, I think we will pick up from where we left it over the last 2 weeks. We were discussing Niger crisis. Even though the crisis seemed to have died down, well, we of course know there are movements in terms of negotiations between ECOWAS and other bodies with the Nigerian military junta. But coming close to home, there have been talks, and a lot of talks, as to whether Gambia should in fact deploy if the need, or rather if the green light has been given. We had the viewpoint of the army, we have viewpoint of former soldiers who made it known that they are opposed to any deployment. We also heard from MPs, some of them of course saying they will vote for it, and others said they will not vote for any Gambia soldiers to deployment there. We also talked a lot in the last few weeks about Senegal. Well, the crisis seemed to have died out, but then of course the opposition leader is still in jail, and tension still remains 6 months or so before the presidential elections there. All this we will discuss, and of course the controversy surrounding the parliamentary vehicle policy. I mean, one of our panelists had weighed into the matter rather strongly, and he came on the flagging for that, so he will explain why he seemed to be the only lone voice in support of the National Assembly members. Right, first I go to Nfamara. Welcome to the brunch. It's been a long time if you've ever been here.
Sure, thank you. It's a pleasure. Yes, I've been here before.
Good.
It was a while ago.
Good. I think it will be fair enough for you to tell us now what have been the recent activities of Beakangang. And Beakangang means, in Mandinka, means equality.
Sure, that's right.
Well, when you say equality, do you want equality between women, because that's the fashionable catchword now, or between women and men, or between rich and poor, or what? Weak and strong?
So essentially,
wow. That's no way. But we go ahead. We're still on air.
Okay. So essentially, our rights here and equality. We're talking about equality in rights and development. We talk about between men and women, young and old. And, how do we ensure that everyone in this country enjoy and exercise their rights without any discrimination?
I see.
Yes.
That's Beakangang.
Yes, that's it.
And how do you go about this? Because mostly I see you are present in the rural areas.
That's right. So, if you know our history very well, we started all the way in the URR as an indigenous organization from the community level all the way to the greater Banjul area. And so our activities are mainly, initially, community-centered. We have observed in the past, like any other communities in the Gambia, that there have been a lot of discrimination in our communities, right abuses and violations at the community level. So we thought it's important at the community level that we could initiate something. You will recall at the time before in the Gambia, even when families has to send their kids to school, when they have the opportunity to send only one person, if they have a daughter and a boy, they will prefer sending the boy to school than the girl child. That's discrimination in itself. So we thought as an organization, these are some of the things that we should talk about, because it's not Beakangang. That's not Beakangang.
Yes.
That's not equality.
That obviously is not.
And thank God that with the advocacy and all community engagements that we've done, and of course the intervention of the government, you will now see that the status quo has even changed in the Gambia. If you go to rural communities, most of the schools, you have even more female students than male students in class. So that's one impact. So essentially it's about trying to bridge that gap of ensuring that there is that equality at community level, at family level, household level, and at national level as well. You can see that there is disparity. Even at national level, some people will tell you that we are untouchables, meaning they could do anything and go free with it.
Exactly.
You understand? So at the level of Beakangang, we are against that. Rule of law must prevail and treat everyone equally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. What have been your recent activities? Was in the urban area or in the rural areas?
Both.
Okay.
I could say both. Last week we had 3 days training for teacher coordinators drawn from all over the country. Because we have school-based human rights clubs. So initially, as part of our TJ intervention, we initiated human rights clubs in schools. So before 2017, we used to go to schools and have these sensitization workshops there. But in 2017, we thought it's important that we establish the clubs for sustainability and greater impact of our work. So we established the human rights clubs across the country.
In schools?
In schools.
So those clubs, what do they do in the schools? They sensitize or?
Exactly. They teach kids about their rights, students about their rights and their responsibilities.
So you are the people who goes about training future troublemakers.
Not necessarily. So we thought it's important that we build the capacities of these teacher coordinators, because sometimes they transfer teachers, the coordinator can be transferred to another school, the school will be left without any trained teacher coordinator. So we decided to train them, and we appreciate the support of the UNDP, UN Peace Building Fund, and the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights for the successful conduct of the training. But again, the same also last week, we also had this green initiative all the way in Tuba Wuli, in collaboration with IOM and returnees, as well as Office of the Regional Forestry Office. We planted over 1,000 trees of different siblings.
Wow.
Yes, in their community forest. This is also part of our Basse office, their efforts to mitigate the impacts of climate change, and also promote the preservation and protection of our remaining forest cover.
God, interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen Seth shaking his head. He's very familiar with your association.
Oh yes, by the way, he is my boss, you know that. So I told you why am I here, my boss is already around. He could have said all these things.
I could see him nodding his head. He's very familiar with it.
He's the vice chair of our board.
Yes. Seth, just say a word or two about Beakangang.
I mean, I'm very honored to be associated with Beakangang, because I mean, as he stated, we are into this advocacy work. I mean, today they're working on in schools where they're building clubs at school. And for me, I started from those kind of initiatives back then when I was in St. Teresa's, where we used to have Children Against AIDS, Children Promoting Education and Democracy. So just the fact that they're doing that work for me is amazing. But then the most important element also, when we talk about advocacy, most of us are from me. I was born in Bakau. I live here. I only know this community. I only know this area. But these are people that understand the needs of their communities, and they are bringing those issues to the broader socio-political discussions, and those are critical. But they're not stopping only in that, and that's why I keep telling Beakangang that you are a whole community approach institution, because they help in environmental, where they do this stuff. The work that they do is like, you can see the impact it is having in the community, because it's also practical, but it's also within reach, and it is local and driven by people that are also interested and concerned about. So for me, that's why when they approach me, I'm so happy. And now today, I think they're also expanding, and now we are equally, our center is also the same. Now they are also part of what they call the West Africa Democracy Network, which is also very important. I think, that
so you've grown international.
Oh yeah, they have to be. They have to be international, because they're doing a lot of things very good here. So we need to continue to support that.
On one occasion or two, been to the UN in New York or somewhere?
Oh, on several occasions.
Okay.
On several occasions, we've been to the International Human Rights Summit at the United Nations, where countries from all over the world used to be represented to discuss about human rights issues in their countries. Unfortunately, this year the Gambia couldn't send any delegations to the summit, but the previous one in 2019, in fact, it was co-sponsored by the Permanent Mission of the Gambia at the United Nations. So that's shows how the Gambia now is also beginning to be recognized for our human rights improvements.
So maybe if I should ask you, because if I ask about the National Human Rights Commission, okay, the people might say, okay, that's established by government, they are funded by government, maybe they will have they'll be economical with some problems that are directed at government. But you've been, an independent human rights NGO. How would you assess the state of human rights in terms of improvement now from 2017 to now? Because we cannot talk before that. We cannot talk about human rights, but at least 2017 to now.
Absolutely. So, Lamil, to be honest, I think. As a country, the Gambia have registered significant progress in terms of human rights. The establishment of the National Human Rights Commission alone is a big boost for our country as far as human rights is concerned.
And the fact that they are independent, well, they work independently.
In fact, I can tell you for free that now when you talk to international organizations and even government entities, they will cite National Human Rights Commission as a success story of the change.
Congratulations to Mr. Emmanuel and others.
Absolutely.
Because they could have just been there and said, okay, we cannot criticize government. But then they have been bold,
Absolutely.
They are independent bodies.
But again, Lamin, also we have to look at how they were also
Of course, I had a qualm with them when I ran a story where I said they are in approval of gay rights. They said, why should you focus on your it's your job, just say yes. We are here for everybody.
Yeah, I remember the controversy.
But that's the problem. When there is controversy,
exactly. Okay. Yeah, but generally as a country, I think we've definitely registered a lot of successes, but that doesn't mean that we don't have challenges in this country. And I always keep telling people, in terms of civic political rights, a lot of achievements have been registered. But in terms of economic rights, we have issues. We are not doing good in that area. A lot of people are hungry in this country, Lamit. A lot of people are unemployed. You go to Serekunda and all these communities here, in the evening, you see how people are hungry, they are starving. So as a country, we need to ensure that we do more in terms of the realization of economic rights, so that people can definitely, have better living conditions for themselves. But other than that, and also the issue of, like I said, when we said human rights situation of the country has improved, that doesn't mean that we don't have challenges, like I said earlier on. We still have people being arrested for expressing their opinions.
Well, there was one very famous case here, very close to us last week.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if we sit here comfortably and said human rights situation of the Gambia is all good and done, that's not true. We have challenges, and that's a challenge for us as a country and for the government in particular to work on improving those areas.
Recently, we made a large Bora. We had things like people being detained. Judges, magistrates have to set people free just because they've been detained without trial for long. IGP, Inspector General, been asked to compensate because they keep people more than 72 hours. You see headlines like that and wonder, how much have we improved?
But I totally agree with my boss here. There have been improvements, but there are still challenges. And of course, one challenge is also the laws. Because some of these laws have not changed. The law hasn't changed also.
That's true.
We can see that there has been restraint, and today people are taking the IGP to police. To court.
Taking army to court.
So improvement in human rights also could be looked at. If there are problems with with the way the police handle their case, people can have that freedom and right to say we're going to challenge this in court. So I think that's also part of the improvement.
And I think the magistrates and judges should also be commended. They really play their role independently. I know of one particular case when the judge told the state council, you want me to keep people in prison on remand and then you keep adjourning. I will not do that. The same way you want me to keep it, the same way his freedom is important.
Absolutely.
And calling the army to come and answer to court and IGP in order to pay compensation for illegal detention and releasing people because they have been detained without trial. All those are very good expressions of the independence of judiciary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they should be commended.
People are taking their job seriously as well. I mean,
Yes,
and
that's
it's,
right.
for me also what I noticed.
And there's no interference also from the executive.
yes,
I think
yes.
we should thank the executive
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Because they are not interfering. In the past, nobody will lock up anyone Jammeh want to protect.
Yes.
And you cannot set anybody free Jammeh wants to lock.
Exactly.
I mean, in fact, it went up to a point, I observed this, you know, because West Jammeh was doing things, you know, I mean, when he had interest in a case, he makes sure that his presence is even felt in terms of the way that that accuse is handled.
Absolutely.
You've seen people in chains, coming in chains, you know, into the court.
Yes, we've seen a lot.
So you know and feel the presence of the executive, you know, in interest in the locking up that. That culture unfortunately seems to have really continued. You see, when people, even now, when people appear in courts escorted by police, people think that, and when they hear the state versus these people, and when they hear that the state wants this man locked, they think it's Barrow who wants the man locked. So because of Jammeh's, the culture we got from Jammeh, we think that when we see people and the state versus people think it's a Barrow who wants this man to clock. When actually the state is representing us.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, you know, I think this is also where civil society work is also needed.
That's
you know,
right.
is to help the people to understand that, I mean, governance is not just about individuals. It's also about processes. And there are people that are also, like in 2014, I faced the same, what you were explaining, it reminded me of 2014. People were not, you know, at least some close, didn't understand what was happening. I mean, so I will be from court then I will enter the Ministry of Justice vehicle and I go with them, because the people that were prosecuting me were people that I studied together with at the university, but they were doing their job. They were not the reason why I'm there. What they were doing was their job. So I mean, so what should I do? Should I be angry with those people, or should I just focus on the fact that I want to fight my own case and then move that? So people need to understand that there are certain, I mean, people, and now the way we are moving, if you feel like, I mean, your right has not been, you know, given to you, you can go to the court, or you can, you know, find mechanisms, to get with. And but that's how democracy, development, you know, that's the way to move. That's the way to move.
Indeed.
It will take time, but because you know we were being you know pumped before, but now I think
Exactly.
All right, let's go to the topics now. The National Assembly members have got their SUVs. Each of them cost 2.5 million. They started deducting them, I think, from the very months they were sworn in. 22 or 20 something thousand dollars they've been deducted monthly, and it is estimated that by the time they finish their term, they would have paid half of the cost, 2.5 million. They said the state will pay for the remainder. I don't know, even the ones they are paying, where did it come from? Where did that come from? It's not from the same state.
Yeah, but they work for that.
They work for that. They work for that. Okay. But you know, a lot of criticisms, people said, look, you know, when you come from Woolley, I will take an example from you, or you come from Kia, where your MP, where your people are struggling daily to put food on the table, and you come around driving $2.5 million car. Sait Matty said he has no problem with that. Sait, why are you the lone voice in support of the MPs in this time round?
I think I want to go with clean hands, of course, because I think you know, I jumped into the debate because I wanted this to be a debate, and that's how I saw it.
Okay.
And I feel, of course, that issues like this, we need to talk about it. And for me, I want us to look at it from a bigger picture than just the cost, because, of course, the cost is important. I'm not saying that it's not expensive. Like my boss here, they talk about the fact that, I mean, poverty has increased in this country, and these are the issues that people are seeing, and then they are looking at that. But for me, my position is that, I mean, people focusing on that, but for me, I want to look at it broadly. I say, yes, cost is important, but then what is the cost of running a vehicle? It's not just the purchasing, what you're using to buy the vehicle, but you know, talking about 5 years, but also talking about the good that can come from that vehicle. Today we're talking about representation. There's a problem of representation in this country, and I think that's also what the National Assembly Service is trying to address here. So, but of course, the current situation and what we have seen as a level of distrust between MPs and then the citizens, you can see this debate coming up. But I am saying that for me, I feel like these vehicles are needed, they are relevant, and they are necessary in terms of ensuring that we have a functional National Assembly. And that's the position that I'm taking. Because why? Today people are just seeing this happening. But yeah, like you stated, they have started deducting since what?
Yeah, since last year.
Yeah, they've started deducting since last year. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you see that these National Assembly members already met this thing being discussed at the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Today, if people, and I also want to give a background to why I am also coming up from this position, because sometimes it's not just the smoke or anything else, but it has to be the fact that I've also been working in the National Assembly since 2017, not like a member or staff, but because of the research, the work that we do. I mean, you can see the challenges of the National Assembly. And those challenges, for many times when I have trainings with the National Assembly members, what I've kept telling them was that you are responsible for your condition. And why are you responsible for condition? Because you're the ones that are responsible for approving, disapproving. But they did not even go to the National Assembly today. You not have members don't even have office spaces at the How are they going to function if they cannot do that? But so as a National Assembly institution, people also need to understand that there are elected members, but within the National Assembly also you have, you also have what we call the National Assembly Service Commission.
Yes.
And the duty of the National Assembly Service Commission is to ensure that any member that is coming, like their stay within the National Assembly is conducive and that they are able to deliver their functions properly. Those are the people, those are the technicians that thought of this through their strategic and what they call their strategic and investment, strategic plan and investment plan.
Right.
So for them, it is not only about strategy, changing the face of the National Assembly, but also investing in the National Assembly to an extent that they will be able to function as an institution.
Right.
And why are they doing that? Today, the National Assembly is autonomous. Before, they used to go to the executive to get money, committee meeting, and all those different
they have
stuff.
their own budget.
Yeah, but today they have their own budget. They are in control of their own budget. But they also realize that they have to manage that budget, and how they're going to manage that budget, and this is part of that. And this is where the conversation is. And I want people to expand it so that we will not just say that but also to look at the other.
That does not change the fact that they could still make a choice whether to take an expensive vehicle or not.
Yes, that is good.
Are there any other arrangements?
That's a good point. You talk about choice. They could have taken, and some people were saying that. I said yes, they could have bought 190. They could have done all that stuff.
Yeah.
We civil society, the minute we do research, we do survey, and we go to the rural community, for instance. You want to take best 190 or pick up or something else to that? You talk about also the durability of that vehicle.
Well, you could welcome to the point raised by the MPs. They said the excuse they take is these vehicles be durable.
No. In reality, also for me, I think if people are if you are very open about this, you'll see that it's also part of that. And then, but people are talking about the cost. I want also to unpack the cost according to what the National Assembly is telling us. So what is the cost? We're saying that 2.5 million. Yeah. And what is the half of that is what the MP is going to pay?
Yes.
And why are they making this decision? Because they're also saying that in the executive arm of government, if you are giving loan for this sub-power capital investment, you are the 50% is free basically. Yeah. So they adopted that policy and then bring it to their own institutional arrangement, meaning they are learning from what is happening in government and they bring it here. But in addition to that one point, the half that the NAMs are supposed to pay, they are saying that in addition to that, the NAMs must pay 3% of that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah? After that 3% that the NAM has to pay, because their idea is that this must be a revolving fund. That in due course, then the fund will be able to take care of itself. Exactly. That even NAMs, every 5 years we are going to elect NAMs, and every 5 years we have to provide vehicles and tools that the NAMs need.
Exactly.
And so they're thinking in the long term.
Yeah,
in the short term, it might be difficult for us in terms of the cost, but in the long term, maybe we are not going to spend recurrently in terms of the vehicles that we are buying. But what, of course, the other question I'm asking is, what is the vehicle policy of the government? Is it not about 5 years?
Wow, yeah.
Then they depreciate and then sell it at a cheaper price, and then something else is coming. So even the cost of maintenance, are people not considering that? Today this vehicle will come with comprehensive insurance program. And today anything that happened to the vehicle, what will happen? They are likely to get a new vehicle.
Yeah.
And the other part is like I keep saying that this is a shared cost. Now the MPs, for me, I feel like they will take more care of this vehicle, because now the arrangement is that at the end of the day they're going to take it. So there are those elements. But then the other point that we are not looking at is also who's going to fuel the vehicle, who's going to do that. For me, I want to understand institution based on what is happening in one institution, and then I compare it to the other institution. That's how we learn. That's how we develop our institution. And for me, talking all this, because I've been part of the processes to understand that they have gone through a strategic development plan, and through that strategic development plan, they have been implementing step by step. And this is one part of that. It's a whole picture. It's not just the vehicle, it's the whole picture. If they don't have an office space, how are they going to function?
Yeah, I understand perfectly, but let's confine ourselves to the vehicles.
Yes.
Okay, all the lofty ideas that the Assembly administration came about to make the MPs very comfortable and, well, so as they said, give and take for them to be able to serve their constituents much more conveniently. All right, all that might be fine, but
yes,
it doesn't change the fact that knowing the economy, knowing the challenges that the country is facing, a representative of the people should be the first person who should have this realization that, look, I can't afford luxury when my people are living in abject poverty. Why wouldn't I take a vehicle for 700,000, for example? My vehicle here is 250,000. I've been driving it 1 year now. I don't have any problem. I can go to Kaula and other places. Why would I go for at least $1 million? It's a strong vehicle. But to go for luxury in the face of abject poverty, that's the moral question that people have.
Yeah, there's a moral question, and I think it's a very relevant question. Yeah. And I say that people must continue to ask those questions because they are relevant. So they are relevant in that sense. But I said, for me today, sometimes look, in one of my arguments, I even say that we should look at what inspired this even.
Why wouldn't they say, okay, all right, I will take the 2.5 million fine vehicle loan, but I'm not going to buy this vehicle. I'm going to take 1 million and spend it on the vehicle, the other million and spend it in my constituency. That can be another arrangement.
Yeah, that could be another arrangement. But then you're talking about durability, you're talking about the functionality of the National Assembly. Today, you see the other arrangement that I want people to see, but I feel the best people to talk about this is the National Assembly Service Commission. Okay. For me, I'm just saying it because based on the little that I know and in terms of the interaction. So I'm trying to share that basically. Yeah, that's an option. I feel like the National Assembly Service Commission have all options. They could have stayed here and then say, okay, because we have the authority, Constitution allow us to facilitate the work of the National Assembly. Now we're going to buy $1 million a vehicle every 5 years or every 2 years. We change that. They could have said that we're going to spend $145 million and buy them $3 million Prados that people are also buying here in this country. They could have done that. But for them, they are saying, okay, but that is not sustainable. We are an institution where every 5 years you have people coming in.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying, you see, people think like I'm arguing that the cost is not important.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that the cost is important. But look at the bigger picture. Because for me...
what makes their job difficult too is if we see waste in government in terms of vehicle or fuel allocations, in government, we see the waste one minister will be driving 3 point or sometimes $5 million.
Three cars. Yeah.
All right. When we see that, who do we rely on to tackle those things, to talk against those? It's the MPs. But when they too are guilty of taking luxurious cars,
but
how can they morally?
You have to differentiate these two. And how are you going to differentiate?
And that's what you have done. Like this. They are the ones responsible for everything, whereas the ministers, they just do what they like and leave.
Yeah, and then how many cars? For me, I'm bringing the executive because we have 3 arms of government, so we need to compare. We need to compare all these different
So the minister has 2 cars or 3?
2 to 3 cars. Yeah. And who's fueling those cars?
Gambia government.
Gambia government. Who's paying those drivers?
Gambia government.
And now the National Assembly is saying now that for us, the comprehensive insurance, let's start with the comprehensive insurance.
Yes.
That every vehicle must be comprehensively insured.
Yes.
And when they are comprehensively insured, who's supposed to pay for that? They say the MP. Yeah? Okay. And this is an elected leader. You elect your person, and then now he's been, ministers are appointed, and they are not charging all those different stuff. But we are fine with that. Yeah? So now they say now the fuel. Who fuels the minister's car? The state.
Yeah.
But now we are saying that this fuel is going to be taken care of by the National Assembly, by the MPs themselves. Then we ask for the maintenance.
If they choose to employ a driver.
Yes, they're going to employ a driver. Oh,
well, they choose to. They can.
They have to, because like it is part of the process.
Yeah? But they can choose to drive. I haven't seen a lot of them driving.
Yeah, they can drive, but at the end of the day, at some point, they must have an official driver. That one man, if they don't, I have to, because I'm saying this, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I'm seeing the long term. But then the other thing that we do is also we track and monitor what the National Assembly does. In April 2014, we released a scorecard in terms of the activities of the National Assembly. And today, as civil society organization, we are also working on a network. We have a network that is also monitoring the Assembly. So for me, I'm not just saying this because I want them. I just want to defend. But I want to look at issues you have, gonna move forward. But let me finish this before my boss comes. So we're talking about the cost after the purchase, and then you look at all those different elements. I mean, to an extent, I feel like we are not being fair to the National Assembly members. Because they are spending also as much as possible in that. And in addition, the number plates. What is the number plate of the vehicle?
I saw that NAM something.
NAM one.
Yeah.
And do you know who paid for that? The members themselves. But today, if they leave,
how do they come by the NAM? Like, is it NAM?
Yeah, because the Service Commission is the technical arm. They have to think long term. So now what they are doing is now they have to institutionalize the number plates, which was paid for by the NAM. And after that, when the NAM
is that not a bad idea? Since it's their own, whose job is to give them?
No, it's an institutional number plate.
But the institution has nothing to do with them. It's their own now.
But it's a shared cost. Don't forget, you're paying 50% of that. So the institution need to control the vehicles, and that's why today, if the number plates are leaving, that's also a safe cost. Now they have NAM 1, NAM 2. Next round of cars that they're gonna buy in next 5 years is the same number plate they're gonna use. So they are trying to save costs in the long run, and that's what I want people also to start seeing.
If you said they own everything at the end of it, just because you're paying half of them, you want them to be identified as as National Assembly.
So this is more like a partner. That's why I tell you, what people need to know. In the National Assembly,
did they raise any issues as to that is perhaps invading their privacy? If this is their own, they can number it anyhow.
This is
why do they list customized number plates?
Yeah, because the National Assembly also, because now they are MPs. So you can institutionalize certain things through the arrangement. The National Assembly could have said, okay, everybody has a loan, let me allow them to get the loan and then do whatever they want to do with it. Yeah. But they want to address a main issue within the National Assembly.
Okay.
We talk about
they want problems. To keep up. In other words, they want to keep up appearance.
Well, that's one way, but the most important thing is also the work. Vehicles are tools for work, they are not tools for luxury, and any vehicle could be seen as luxury, and seeing things as luxury is subjective.
I saw one. Yeah. Maybe I should now think about.
You should upgrade now.
You know what I mean? Think about getting the numbers. Putting them to the names. I saw one going at breakneck speed.
But then, at least that's the rule.
I don't know. I should have learned how now which one belonged to San Mentoring or to.
But by the time
I know which MP is driving breakneck speed on the traffic. But anyway, Nfamara, from the way I see you seem to be disagreeing with with some aspects of Mr. Sait Matty's deliberations. Okay, let's hear that.
Absolutely. So I have a different perspective when it comes to this whole vehicle thing of the National Assembly. Just like you rightly mentioned, and I agree with some of the things that were mentioned by my boss, but like you rightly said, the timing for me,
exactly,
they are buying these vehicles at a time when poverty is in the increase in this country.
Yes.
The cost involved, like you rightly also said, they could have gone for a vehicle that cost maybe 1 million, for instance, or even lesser,
or even nothing.
Well, they might still need it.
Well, you said they need a vehicle.
So
we all agree that they need a vehicle.
We all agree. Yeah. That's not the issue here. We all agree, boss. Again, the other reason advanced by boss and others who are supporting this policy is that when they have these vehicles, they can go to their constituents. That's important. But if you go to communities, in 2017, if you remember very well, they were given pickups.
Yeah, but that one was.
No, I'm just trying to tell you that when a National Assembly member is given a vehicle or they have vehicles, now they have it. One of the justifications or the reasons that they are advancing is that this will give them the opportunity to go back to their constituents frequently.
And it will last long.
Exactly. But I'm telling you, even whereas they had vehicles, the previous ones, before this one, communities were complaining that they were not seeing them. So for us to say that they have vehicles now, they can easily interact with them. Where is the assurance that we are going to see?
No, maybe that can be individual cases. Maybe that can be individual cases. Some people might be frequent visitors.
But the communities.
I know. Okay. I see your point. But you can excuse them for that. That might be. No.
That's one of the reasons that they are saying that they need it.
Can I clarify something?
And
I think they also place a lot of social things with those vehicles, like if there have been deaths,
if there are
funerals, and so they do that. Although I don't know how many of them will agree. Will agree to put coffins in that Prado now, unlike the pickups.
So, Lamin, as far as I'm concerned,
but that's not the job of the National Assembly.
I know, but in our society,
but so now then people are complaining about costs that they're going to benefit from again.
Okay, I understand your point.
You see this.
I understand your point. He's saying it's like
the involved. And the current economic realities of our country and the timing are one of the reasons why.
And the morality.
Exactly.
And the moral.
I mean, one of the reasons why I don't really support this.
You see,
and my boss, I don't think.
But let's go back.
I'm not trying to.
Let's go back to 2017. You know, they had pickups free of charge. That
was corruption. For me, that one I say is corruption.
That one was free of charge.
You all,
that was free of charge. I mean. Now the Assembly is now proud that this other process has really been above board. It has been transparent, and it's a policy that they believe, in fact, should be adopted by central government itself, because one, it will share the burden on the government, and it will also promote responsibility. Because the people would have known that this is mine, I'm paying for this, so I should take greater care of it.
Go on to the garage.
Instead of the attitude of government officials, they will drive it and wreck them, and then they dump them and get new ones. So he's trying to argue that in some way, under the circumstances, the MP system is better than the central government.
It's way better. It's way better in the sense.
What do you make of it?
I have no problem with the system.
Yeah.
My problem is with the cost, Lamel.
Oh, the cost.
The cost involved.
I see.
And the current economic realities of our country.
That's a good.
But my boss, the cost is paid in 5 years.
Some of these MPs are coming from communities whereby people are struggling to have 3 square meals a day.
You can't discount the fact, Sait Matty, that the costs will always.
I agree. You see, I'm not disagreeing with the cost, but the fact that you are limiting the issue to the cost, for me, that's what I have problem with.
So you mean there are far more things.
They're talking about cost of buying. Now let's break down the cost. How much is government putting in? How much is government putting in? If the vehicle costs 1.2 million, how much is government putting in? 1.25 million.
Yes.
Is the MP himself not paying tax? Is he not part of that money that he's also contributing? That is one. So if we are talking about the cost, we shouldn't focus on the cost that is coming from the MP, but we should focus on the cost of that is coming from the government. So you want to tell me the government cannot spend 1.25 million on their MPs for the next 5 years? Is that what people are telling me?
No.
But then the payment plan, it's not like they're taking all the money and then giving it to this.
They've already paid them good salaries. They pay them sitting
allowances. A lot of allowances now.
Lamin.
A lot of allowances.
Lamin, why do you think?
I mean, government could. The other problem is because it exists. I mean,
it exists in the executive. It exists everywhere. That's why I said
so. That's where the problem
from each other.
I think that's where he's right. That's where
this is governance. This is governance. Institutions learn from each other.
It exists. But then, if there are things that exist in the government and we are not happy with, who are the people we rely on to advocate to change?
National Assembly members.
So
now they are coming with change.
Compromised. So
you see, we can choose words that we can use.
Yes.
But these people are saying like this is a problem. People are talking about it. What I'm saying is let's give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll look at their model. They are coming up with a model. But everything is about calculation. You calculate, you think. And now we are talking about the National Assembly members. Those people are the beneficiaries. But the people that make the decision are the National Assembly Service Commission. Because those are the people, they are the technical arm. And they're going to be permanent, they're going to stay, they're going to be there when these people will come and go. And these people are not accountable to those people. But for accountability purposes, what did they do?
Okay.
They say we want to save government money, and therefore we need to come up with this model where it is going to be shared in government. If you get you have 50% is taken off, and that's the idea that they have it. But in addition to that, we are saying the NAM should pay 3%. to that, so that they can have a revolving loan fund.
All right.
I think you need to bring the Assembly Service Commission and people open up their mind
actually
and then see what is going to happen. So that at the end of the day, you compare what is happening in central government and what is happening in the National Assembly. That's how you learn about institutions.
Yeah, but then also when we know, bring the electorates on board as well.
No. So the electorates
hear from them as
he's
well.
talking about the electorates.
Yes.
Now the duty of the electorate is this. If the NAMs complain and say we don't have vehicle, that's why we are going to National Assembly late. And if they say we are not seeing our National Assembly, didn't you say that? Now the duty of the electorate is to ensure that they see that the NAMs are going to the National Assembly at 10 o'clock, because sessions start at 10 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, if they don't see their NAM, what is the excuse? Today, if they don't see their NAM in their constituency, what is their excuse? That is the duty of the electorate. Now we have contributed, we have given you money. So for me, I'm looking at that. And for the work that we are doing, we are going to provide scorecard, and we're going to continue to show. Today I am here, I'm still like to be defending this, but tomorrow if anything happened to that, I'm going to come and say it is otherwise. Good. Because that's our duty, and that's what we have to do.
All right. Let's move on to another topic. We'll get to that. The MPs have their Prados anyway.
I can debate 2.4 million Gambians.
The MPs have their Prados anyway.
You see?
So. All right, let's move on. Last week or so, there have been another attempt to revive the Constitution. People some said it's in a coma. I wonder how long now would it remain in the coma, or when the doctors will pluck off the oxygen life support. I don't know. But there have been attempts actually to bring it back. The idea, that's the international NGO, gather some people together. The question now remains, do we still have any signal of a breakthrough? What is difference, you think, from then, that is 2021, and now? Any optimism that it could be the Nfamara?
Also, I wasn't involved in the recent discussions. I think boss saw them participating in it. But gradually, I think the political dynamics of the country are changing as well. And I think the approach, we've all learned our mistakes, even including us as civil society, because we were very much optimistic at the time that that draft constitution was going to pass. So all of us together as Gambians, including us as civil society, we've all learned our mistakes, and I believe that that is going to be helpful for us in this new phase of consultations that are going to take place. And I believe that at some point we need to compromise. For me, that's the most important thing. We need to compromise as Gambians if we want to see a new constitution. But I'm not very much optimistic that we could have it in the next 3-4 years. I'm not very much optimistic, if you ask me.
Yeah, why?
Also, I mentioned about the political dynamics being changed, but the real issues that were the main consensus issues before, I'm not sure if the political powers will just compromise on those things anytime soon. But that's just me thinking, you know.
Okay, if we go to the specifics, in the run-up to the catastrophic voting in Parliament, the positions were very clear. Cabinet's position on the draft was that it was going to be discriminatory to the president. Well, they claim whoever president was there. It happened to be Barrow. If you said that the term limits should be applied in the past, all right? Because the Constitution said once it come into force, the term of the president should be counted as the first term of that. Now, cabinet position was that that will be discriminatory. And also that some of the powers that have been given to other bodies other than the presidency are also, they are not in agreement with that. Whereas the opposition parties believe that the term limit should have started with the coming into force of the Constitution. So that was the problem. But has anything changed in that, in terms of positioning of this government? For example, do you see President Barrow and his colleagues still maintaining that his first term should not be counted as a term?
Well, officially, I haven't come across any information regarding that. But behind closed doors, you can hear people those sentiments.
In fact, there are groups which said now, groups that call themselves Barrow for third term.
Exactly.
So what message does that do?
Essentially, like I said, I haven't come across any official communique to say that there's this, change of position on the side of the president and the government and the ruling party. But if you talk to the party supporters, I think a good number of people will tell you that they still maintain the same position. And if that doesn't change, essentially, where are we?
Yeah, because I asked this because, okay, we have seen that third term business is getting increasingly unpopular in the region. Next door, President Macky Sall's decision to go. People are thinking all this can have impacts or effects on President Barrow or his government's thinking. Even though we had mixed messaging. On Corite Day, he talked as if somebody is talking about life after the presidency. Until people beginning to think that, look, this man perhaps is not, is not thinking beyond 2026. But we had his lieutenants say, no way, he's going to be our candidate 2026. So we're not sure. We were thinking that things might change, and that might have a bearing on the negotiations for the constitution. Sait Matty, you've been part of the process. Do you think Barrow and his government's position on when his term should start, when his term, considering his term, do you think have changed, or it remains the same?
Well, I think we just restarted the process. So I think for me, generally people, all political parties, I saw them participating, and that's why we saw that photo between Halifa and Honorable Dabo. Of course, we did not see Barrow, but we saw representatives. But for me, I thought he was supposed to be in that forum.
You mean he should have come there?
Yeah, I mean, of course. At some point, I mean, whether he should go, should not. And when Macky came here, he was so excited, telling people.
Okay, that was another occasion when people want to draw analysis.
Yeah. And I want to bring, for me, I mean, I think, he talked about his elder brother, Janga, Fofunono. But at the end of the day, I think, for me, on this constitutional process, of course.
But even there, he qualified. He said Macky's decision is very good, and it provides lessons, especially for those countries with term limits.
Now, one of the, he said the lesson.
Now there is a message, there, a coded message.
For me, he talked about Barrow's lessons for people with term limits.
Yeah, especially countries with term limits.
But how did Macky arrive at that decision? For me, that's why when we discuss in this constitutional process, I think that's where Barrow needs to take that leadership and that responsibility.
Yes.
Because when Macky's term, issue of term limit was being discussed, what did he do? He organized a national dialogue.
National dialogue, yes.
Brought in every political leader.
In the first, he kept quiet.
Yes.
He kept.
But I'm talking about
everybody in suspense.
Yes.
But later he organized the national dialogue.
And now we are starting a dialogue process on this constitutional review, and that's why President Barrow needs to take that responsibility, take that leadership to lead that process. Because at the end of the day, it's not like me and him. We don't have any decision. Me, I'm just here talking. I don't have no power. I have nothing. But he's the one that is being elected, and he was the one that promised people, about a constitution. For me, I think whenever I talk about this constitutional issue, I think he should take the responsibility. And so for us at the, we've started, International Idea is leading, and this time is different from the previous one. And here we are talking about after the process failed. So, and then the process of reviving it, when it was rejected by the Assembly. So Goodluck Jonathan came, but that did not work well, even though he did not participate because they felt like it should have been a national process. But now with Ibn Chambers and the coming of the Supreme Islamic Council and the Christian Council as co-facilitators in this conversation, and even the civil society is represented, because I think what needs to be done is to have that neutral platform. And at the end of the day, no matter how we discuss this issue, it's going to be a political decision, and it must be taken by the politicians to transition this country. And so now you have the Supreme Islamic Council and the Christian Council, and in addition to that, you have a civil society representative, Fatou. I mean, we all know her, and so what that does is to help facilitate this conversation. And in addition to that, they have Ibn Chambers, and Ibn Chambers has been here. But for me, at the end of the day, when for the dialogue to work, for a new constitution to come, President Barrow must show leadership, must show responsibility, and must bring all these political leaders together so that they can discuss the way forward for this country. For me, that's the simplest solution to this problem.
People he himself pressed Macky Sall very well for his position. I mean, Maki's critics said he didn't take the decision voluntarily.
Of course.
He was pressurized by street violence and disagreements everywhere, and then he didn't take it voluntarily. But at the end of the day,
but do we have to get there?
He took the right decision. I mean, people said morally, I mean, Barrow has more, can win more moral credibility than Macky Sall. No, in terms of one thing, that is okay. Whereas Macky may have constitutional problems, like he believes he's qualified, but many people, nobody agree with him that he has a right to go. He's the only one who believes that he had a right.
I mean, Macky's problem.
But then here we don't have, at the moment as it stays, we don't have a constitutional term limit.
That's true.
So if Barrow comes to say, even though I don't have constitutional term limits, but I want to set an example that I believe in 2 terms limits, and I'm going to do it starting with myself. We're going to have it in this constitution so that nobody again will come after me to look for more than 2 terms. In that case, he's not only adhering to the principles of the coalition, which is self-entrenchment in power must end, he will win more moral credibility than Macky.
No, I don't think so.
Of course.
You see, Macky's problem was a section of a constitution, but Barrow's issue is what he promised us a new constitution. That's the difference.
Yeah, well, and,
so you cannot use the 19. You cannot promise people that you're going to change this, and now you're going to use the 19th constitution to justify, self-perpetuation.
Of course, in fact, he promised.
He promised us a constitution. That's the difference.
We'll take all that out now.
For me, what Barrow can do, to leave a good legacy, is to leave this country with a new constitution, transition us into a third republic, or look at means.
No, but you can still have a constitution, but I mean the contentious issue will still be there.
This contentious issue is now this is where also my boss was talking about compromise. In the first instance, we were talking about compromise, but nobody listened to us. Exactly. In our constitution, we don't have term limit. If our problem is Barrow, and we don't have term limit, if you don't want to compromise, he's in the advantage. He will continue. And if people haven't realized that, it's better that they compromise on that and then educate the people and all that. But for me, deep down, maybe I'm too optimistic about this country. But for me, this deep issue, the way people, consider term limit in this country, I don't think Barrow will have a chance when he goes again in the,
You see, that's the other side of the coin. Yeah. I mean, people who, well, I think that should be the last result.
Option. Yeah.
That is where negotiations have failed. Yeah. People said, okay. I mean, he may wish to go for third term, but the Gambian people can think otherwise.
I mean, we
can stop him.
We have the power.
But then we have known that there have been instruments against that. That is, once somebody is elected as president, he absorbs certain advantages that others may find.
Yeah, Jammeh was here for 22 years.
I know, but how long did it take us to take that advantage?
You are talking about
22 years.
Look, you're talking about poverty. We're talking about the challenges in this country. Yeah. And even when Mange defend this National Assembly, even though I feel that it's going to help, bring this governance issue. But are people not care about, in terms of their decision? They're the ones to make the decision.
Yeah.
So sometimes somebody will just come and appear and say, I want to run. But at the end of the day, you have to make a decision.
They did it with Wablai Wad.
Yeah. But I'm saying at the end of the day, the choice of who leads is on the Gambian people.
Okay.
And whether we want a new constitution, for me also is Gambian people. But President Barrow promised people that he was going to get a constitution. And what I'm advising him for his legacy, because he keeps talking about legacy. And if you want to leave a legacy, what better legacy can you make than...
He seems to think more about roads.
I mean, for me,
it's a legacy.
If you are a political leader and you want to leave legacy, you have to provide the right environment for your people to be nurtured, to grow. This is what the independent leaders did. They came together at one point when everything was moving helter and skelter. So they came together, organized one coalition, and then through that they were able to give us independence. So there's an opportunity also to do the same.
Nfamara, do you think there's any chance for the constitution to come back again?
No.
You are not optimistic?
No, I am not. Also the issue of term limits that you talked about.
Yeah.
I just want to remind you that in CRR,
yeah, Nyani Kunting. Yeah.
President Barrow made it categorically clear that he was going to contest on the term.
No, what he said was, I think you should look at that context. He said,
Context.
Of course that was the first
I like
time.
people to use context.
Yeah, you have to put
on
in
this
context.
National Assembly.
He
context.
said that people are saying that how to call it, what we are going to do them in 2026 will be worse. You know, that's how he said. He said how we are going to deal them in 2026 will be worse than what we have done to them in 2021. So there you are right. He's effectively saying that, well, I don't know whether he didn't say categorically what I will deal with them. He said what we will do deal with them. So he didn't say categorically there that he's going to be. But after that.
I listened to it.
Oh, okay. But after that,
yes,
his lieutenants qualified it, and he didn't come back to correct them. Exactly. And they said categorically what he meant was he is going to be our candidate. But there, Barrow used an abstract. What we gonna do to them in 2026 will be worse. So you see, even there, I still don't see a firm commitment or pronouncement, a strong commitment and pronouncement, a big yes, I will run. I still have not heard that Barrow said it.
But there are Gambians going around mobilizing.
Oh, he didn't stop. Yeah, he didn't stop them. That's like Macky style. That's Macky style. Macky waited until everybody thought that he's going to run, and he come and surprise even those people who are campaigning for that kind of thing. So until I hear categorically Barrow saying I am going to run, I would still think that the whole idea is to get his people morals high until the last minute and said, look, you know what? So you don't believe that? Nobody believed me when I said he will not run or he may not run. They say, hey, you are joking. But that's what we said here of Karim, of Macky Sall. When I was here with Jao and others, Jao said Macky will not run. I said, Jao, you are the only person in the world.
Yes.
You remember that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
because he used to live there. He understands the political
Exactly,
dynamic. He is connected to the ground.
Yes.
And sometimes when certain people speak, you look at it from that context as well.
Exactly.
Context is important.
Context is
matter.
important. That's what I'm saying.
And you know, in every conversation, we need to look at that context.
But
for me,
take things out of context, it can have a different meaning.
But for me, I mean, you know, my Mandinka is still 0.1 in terms of advancement. But for me, I think generally, I keep saying that the issue of term limit is not even an issue for us. Because if we're looking at our current
we can stop anybody at any time.
Yeah,
that's what you believe.
That is the final one, like you said.
You also have to look at the political maturity of the Gambians.
But like that's what I'm saying.
Respect.
What is the political maturity of Gambia? You tell me the Gambians cannot make that decision?
Well, it's the way you are thinking about it. Perhaps it's not going to work like that.
You see, me, I'm not trying to
As
tell.
Barrow said, it's not going to be that easy.
No, it's not going to be that easy.
I know there might be other factors that could look at that, but I feel that if we have advanced in human rights, if we have advanced in our democratization, I equally believe that our people's mindset has also equally evolved, and they have that understanding. Here in this country, you cannot talk about, people are talking about time limit everywhere. They're learning lessons from what is happening. At least sometimes, like the work that we do, we need to also trust that it is making sense, it is working. Because there are people that are likely to see the point that we're also trying to make. And that's how we also, civil society, need to, that's our job. You know, that's how we need to continue to educate and then inspire people to see what is necessary. But if we say, oh, they are like this, right, then we shouldn't even exist in the first place. You know, for me, that's also, I say, maybe I'm too optimistic, but I also believe and trust that people will make the right decision when it is time.
So we will see what the constitution will come out from the coma. Let's finally talk about Niger and the crisis that ECOWAS and Niger, the junta there, are into. I think it's the rhetoric seems to have died down, but they will still have a junta in place. They still hold the president in captivity, and they said negotiations are going on. But then, and of course, the coming closer home, should we deploy if we got the green lights, if at all it's going to happen? Or should, as most people observe, we just stay away? Farmer?
Oh, if you ask me, Lamil, I will say the reason why ECOWAS, from my perspective, is insisting on, initially, on
they're still insisting.
Yeah, but the latest that we got from ECOWAS is that they are now going to prioritize dialogue.
Yeah, well, yes, that's
but
right.
everything is still
but
on
there's still everything is on the table.
On
the table. Yeah.
So essentially for me is that are they doing it to restore the ousted president, Bazoum, or they are trying to restore democracy in that country. I have a lot of things to
I think those two things are linked.
Yeah. What I'm trying to put here, Lamin, is that I believe that dialogue should still be explored, and peaceful means of resolving the crisis, if it is possible, should still be explored by ECOWAS. And personally, as a Gambian, if you ask me, I don't think as a country we should send our soldiers to Niger in this mission, personally.
Why?
Again, we could support as a country. We could support as a country. But I will personally not support sending our men to Niger. We have a lot of security issues that we should handle back home here. And again, also,
what is only a few hundred contingent? I mean, what would the absence of a few hundred men do to our security here?
Yeah, but we still have bigger nations in the ECOWAS sub-region who have the money and they have the resources and they have the...
It's called regional because every country should be involved.
So for me, Lamin, like you asked me, definitely, I don't think using power will resolve this problem in Niger. I don't think so.
Do you believe that both ECOWAS and Niger and the junta are on a proxy war? Because people believe that the Niger coup is just an extension, it's an infection of a disease that had already afflicted Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Mali, and that is anti-French, coup d'etats, pro-Russian regimes being installed in those things through the barrel of the gun. Don't you think? Do you believe this is the case?
I think so. A lot of people share the same sentiments as well.
So if that is the case, yes. If the junta in Niger have staged a coup d'etat to, let's say, to protect the rights and interests of the citizens of Niger, or to prevent or to protect them from, the bad governance of Bazoum and other things, one could have said, okay, the coup d'etat is justified. But for me, it looks like taking over to kick out one foreign power and replace it with one foreign power. So I believe the coup d'etat, if that was the purpose, it's definitely unnecessary.
So coup d'etat in general, I'm not in support of coup d'etat.
Definitely. Yeah.
But again, also, you should look at a little bit of history of that country, Niger. Even before the coming of the soldiers, even before the coup d'etat, the human rights records of Niger under the post-president.
Under Bazoum?
Under Bazoum, yes.
The last 2 years?
Yes, it was bad.
Oh, really?
It was bad. There are credible records.
I don't think he didn't have much.
Credible records
he didn't stay
of
long
extrajudicial killings and all sort of things there. But again, like I said, that may not also justify a coup as well. But it's a very complicated situation, and probably security experts and political experts like my boss will like to add their voice into
we are
this.
still students.
You haven't still strongly said why we should not deploy.
I mean, for me, I think. I mean, of course, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't want war.
Any bloodshed.
Because, any bloodshed, because war in Niger with West Africa has a ripple effect all over. I mean, and already within the region, you're talking about the jihadist problems.
Exactly.
You're talking about Nigeria. You have all those different issues that that are there. But for me, I mean, I see myself as West African. I mean, and I think also certain things. If we have a protocol where we say that these are the terms that every state need to respect. I think ECOWAS need to try to impose that to ensure that people follow and respect those decisions. But then for me, the solution is not in war. I will want them to explore the economic issues. Now already the AU is responding. You have already people removing aid from Niger. We're talking about 40% of their budget coming from aid. So there's a lot of external influence there already. 40% of your budget from aid. There's already that. But at the end of the day, for us as Gambians, I mean, for me, I don't think, we were talking about the National Assembly before. Now we've been benefiting from ECOWAS engagement and intervention, but now we don't want to contribute. Are we just going to benefit and not contribute? For me, I think these are the questions that we have. But of course, we also need to understand the collective history that we have as a region. And even today, when you talk about military engagement and all that, do Gambians still know how these economic and military engagements came about? It's from here. Yeah, in 1991 with ECOMOG and all those things. Yeah. And today, I mean, in 2016, what Jawara thought of in 1990 was what come and save prevented violence happening in this country.
In the Gambia.
And so that is the long term. He was thinking long term, that collectively we can provide security for ourselves collectively. But of course, I mean, there is a lot of distrust in ECOWAS. I mean, I think they know it. People feel like they're just there for the head of state. And because they're focusing on the military, why are they not focusing on people like Macky Sall, that is arresting and then, banning political parties? Why didn't they focus on Alpha Conde when he decided to change the constitution? Because those are all unconstitutional change. And Ouattara as well, when they change that. So for me, I think ECOWAS need to move beyond where they are, restructure their own institution, and then give more power to the people so that the people can be part and parcel of the process instead of what it is now. That's why all these anti-ECOWAS sentiments that we are seeing is also coming up. But at the end of the day, ECOWAS is ours, and I think for me, Gambia, I mean, and for me, this is also the confidence that we have in we need to contribute. Our military's role is also for international peacekeeping, is also for that. They've been doing that. They have the capacity, they have the experience as well. And I think, I mean, if it is about the region, for me, I feel like we need to contribute, but I agree. Military option, let it be dragging, but let us use the economic means, because then, but if we have to contribute.
Well, if we must go, if
ECOWAS is going there, we cannot be behind it. It doesn't, like, sometimes that's what I don't understand. Like, for me, it's like you want to enjoy, but you don't want to contribute. People must contribute. That's the responsibility that we have to do.
It's true that the Gambia has been contributing troops too,
and we are paying.
UN and African Union, I think.
Even ECOWAS.
ECOWAS. In like the very first one, it is true. In 1990, it was
Guinea-Bissau here.
Even though Nigeria spearheaded it, but yes, Jawara was chairman of ECOWAS at the time, and he agreed and put his weight behind it.
The political vision.
Yes. No, actually, when it started, there was a little bit of disagreement because Samuel Doe in Liberia was surrounded by rebels. That in fact, a rebel group split into two. The main one, Charles Taylor, he came up to the edge of the capital. Prince Johnson, who split from him, was already controlling some part of Monrovia, including the port area. So Doe was kind of surrounded by rebels. So it was thought that Babangida, because Doe actually took Babangida to be his big brother. Babangida wanted to save Doe from that. He wanted him out of the country. So I mean, his idea of ECOMOG, people want to believe it was Babangida's idea to save Doe. But then Jawara actually embraced the idea because he knew that
and he was the chair.
There has to be an independent force for any peace to happen there. These three people cannot meet, so there has to be an independent force. So they agreed and they went there. But then Samuel Doe was too stubborn. I mean, Babangida wanted him out using ECOMOG, but he was stubborn. He wanted to stay. He wanted ECOMOG to fight all the rebels out. That eventually happened, but it was too late for him. I mean, it was already when he was killed. But then the idea started in 90 years. You are right. And since then, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, ECOMOG, this ECOWAS intervention did a very good job in Sierra Leone. And that is the only thing the whole world agreed that General Abacha had did right all through his life,
especially restoring.
That's what I'm saying. He restored Katigan Kaba.
That was a coup d'etat.
That was the only thing people said. Even his critics said Abacha did very well in that one. He used these forces to kick out Johnny Paul Koroma and the rebels who were killing people and restored Kaba. So you see, the idea is not bad.
No, the idea is collective security. Yes. That's why, the idea of collective security is what, started with the League of Nations, the United Nations.
That's what have brought about.
That if there are problems in particular countries,
we should be our concern.
Should be our concern.
Yes.
Because today we are sitting here, Gambia we are definitely far from Niger. Very far from Niger. But today Niger is also a route through this migration.
Our people are there. Even
Our
as we
people are
speak,
there. They are all there. So we also need to concern
No,
about that.
and the region has,
And that's why I'm talking about the why war or violence is not the solution, because the ripple effect is like the
But, I mean,
you know,
I mean, well, Mustafa, journalist Mustafa Dawa was saying
Yeah.
the last time. He said what ECOWAS need is, you see, they should set up a criteria, like in the European Union. There are certain no-go area. If you go to that area, you don't belong to the union. So they should set those standards that, look, if you stage a coup d'etat, automatically you have taken yourself. That's not accepted. You cannot be a member of ECOWAS. So, but then of course, things that prevent coup d'etats and governance should all be in place, so that they can even come to a democratic country and say, look, you are obviously going away from the criteria we set, so you should be sanctioned. So that's in that way they can maintain.
But then, Lamin, the other problem is, you see, the problem of ECOWAS is the structure. For me, that's what I think. And why am I talking about the structure? So you have the commission. So when we see ECOWAS with their logo, the commission, but the decision makers are the presidents of all these different countries.
The heads
So
of
the head of
the authority of heads of government.
So if these people are not interested in strengthening the common agenda, which is strengthening democracy. Because at the end of the day, for ECOWAS to intervene, it's either somebody wants to, do otherwise. And like what we see in terms of the military and what we have also seen in Gambia, that's why they intervene. But usually, I think people need to internalize and localize this idea of ECOWAS, and in that way it will get to the bottom of the people. Look at in 2015, I think, when they wanted to go with this term limit issue. We were one of those countries that said no, and Togo. Why is that process? Like out of 16 countries, only two small, and the two smallest countries say no, and then they accepted. But that's the problem of consensus. It's not, for me, that is not democratic. They need to, consensus is important, is about compromise. But when it comes to this rules, like Mustafa is saying,
the political will of the leaders themselves.
They have to take that. But beyond that also, like the EU is, and they also reflect most of these recs, and we tend to mold them towards what EU is doing. So that's why, I agree with Mustafa. Then they have to put in certain measures, and once that happens, it will not create confusion. You should enter, you should not enter. People will already
will know that you have
this is the rule. This is what
you have already.
But everything is negotiated. We'll continue to have problems, and we'll just keep talking, right?
Yeah, and talking we will do next week too on the brunch, inshallah. This has been the brunch on Kerr Fatou Live. Thank you very much, Nfamara Jawneh, the Executive Director of NGO Beakangang, researcher, lecturer, and activist. Sait Matty, thank you too for your perspectives. We will keep talking on the brunch next Saturday. Until then, goodbye for now.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Jawneh Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Jawneh Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Jawneh Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Jawneh Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Jawneh Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Jawneh head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Jawneh branch located countrywide near you.